Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the international webinar presented by Indonesia Halal Training and Education Center. I'm your moderator today, Dewi Riyasari from IHATEC. Today we will be exploring webinar with the topic Challenge of Halal Certification in the Cosmetic Industry. The objective of this webinar is to provide a comprehensive information and perspective on challenge of halal certification in the cosmetic industry, including world demand of halal cosmetic, challenge of the halal certification process, the ingredient requirements and critical points, and finally, the opportunities. We hope this seminar will be able to answer the challenge of halal certification for the cosmetic industry, to grab the opportunity to win the halal cosmetic market in Indonesia in particular and in other countries in general. In the next hour, you will actually get to hear insight from our three competent speakers. I can see very positive and enthusiasm from all the participants because we have more than 500 registered participants from industry, government, university and academia, halal certification body, and others. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that you all have been placed in listen mode only for the webinar. After the three presentations, we will have Q&A sessions, and during the webinar, you may type your questions in the Q&A box and submit to us. The question is open for bilingual version, so you may deliver the question either in English or in Bahasa. If time allows, we will go through some of the questions after the presentations. Otherwise, we will follow up the questions through the questions box during the webinar. In case you have experienced any technical problems in the webinar, you may also type your issue in the Q&A box to seek our assistance. The organizing committee will inform you attendance and feedback form in the Q&A menu. Now, allow me to introduce our honorable speakers today. The first speaker is Dr. Insinyur Hajah Mulyorini R. Hilwan Master of Science from the Assessment Institute for Food, Drug, and Cosmetic of the Indonesia Council of Ulema LPPOM MUI, and she also representing IPB University. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Mulyorini. Thank you for having you here to share your insight. The second speaker is Ms. Hamidah Minhaj from Colgate-Palmolive Company. She also representing ASEAN Cosmetic Association, ACA. Salam, Ibu Hamidah. Appreciate your participation in this webinar. The third speaker is Dr. Mian Nadim Riaz, PhD CFS from Texas A&M University, USA. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Riaz. It is great honor to have you in this webinar. So, without further ado, let us start the webinar. The first presentation will be delivered by Dr. Insinyur Hajah Mulyorini R. Hilwan, Master of Science, with the topic of Challenge on Halal Certification in Cosmetic. Dr. Mulyorini has education background from Agricultural Industry, Technology Faculty of IPB University. She holds position as lecturer in the university since 1988. And she has been served more than 24 years in LPPOM MUI as Halal Auditor, Expert Team Member, Vice Head of Auditing Division, Head of Auditing Division, and currently she became an advisor of Halal Auditing Section. I would like to invite Dr. Mulyarini to start the presentation. Over to you, Dr. Mulyarini.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Dewi. Um, Ibu Dewi, can you hear my voice? Is it clear enough?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so thank you very much again, Bu Dewi. So, praise to Allah who gave us bless and help, also merciful. So today that we can attend this webinar. The honorable participant of this webinar, what I would like to present in this webinar is the experience of LPPOM MUI on halal certification that basically based on fatwa committee decision, yeah, MUI fatwa committee decision. And when facing the halal certification, we have many challenges, and we already analyze what actually the challenge, and we try to face those challenges. Yeah. And so, for the uh, introduction of for the outline of my presentation is first I would like to introduce some important terminology and some important notes on the halal certification of cosmetics, and then why cosmetics must be halal, and MUI fatwa on cosmetics product, and giving some examples of critical point of cosmetics. Maybe I also will give some statistical data of the product cosmetics that already certified by MUI, and define challenge and halal certification of cosmetics, and lastly is conclusion remarks. Yeah. Okay. Next. So basically, uh, as Muslim, practicing halal haram rule is obligatory. Yeah. And the halal haram rule is clearly explained in the holy book Quran and also Hadith, and um, maybe part of fiqh is actually halal and haram rule. Yeah. So, what the meaning of halal? Halal means permissible or lawful, yeah. And halal usually will be combined with toyib. Toyib means quality, wholesome, and not harmful to health. Yeah. And whatever things that consumed must be comply with halal and toyib, or we call it as halalan toyiban. So if there is a product that toyib mean safe, quality, wholesome, not harmful, but not halal, the ingredient is not halal, the process not comply with halal, so the product will become not halal. But if halal, but also not safe, not toyib, not good, so also will become not halal. So those two combination become also our consideration when we perform audit to many products. And if we see the product paradigm currently, so to fulfill the customer satisfaction, many criteria have to be fulfilled by the stakeholder. Yeah, first, the product must be worthy. Yeah, then safe, and currently halal become one of the issue as one of the customer satisfaction fulfillment. And here I take some of the data from the DSM presentation, yeah, Global Halal Beauty Market, one of the seminar performed by DSM, that actually currently halal beauty is set for sales growth. We see that um, global Muslim cosmetics spend more than 70 billion US dollar. Yeah. So this is as the forecast, um, uh, what we call it, global spending cosmetics by Muslim in 2019. I mean, not forecast, so the data, and maybe in the future will be more. Yeah. And why it become on that number? Yeah, because the growing of Muslim population, yeah, drive the halal beauty industry. Yeah. So if we see in globally, yeah, global Muslim population is more than 1.8 billion currently, and Indonesia itself is the biggest Muslim population in the world, and halal is one of a very sensitive issue, not only for the product that consume, but also related to the cosmetic or some consumer goods. Yeah, we have the experience several years ago that one of the shoes, yeah, that have the issue using one of the material coming or derived from pork. This has also become the big issue. So currently, not only food, drug, and cosmetic, but also the consumer goods. And okay, so basically for halal and haram, yeah, material which is uh, clearly mentioned as haram material in Al Quran, actually only several. Yeah, first is pork, secondly is carrion. Carrion means a dead body without proper slaughter, and then blood. Yeah, then animal slaughter by not mentioning the name of Allah, and then homer or alcoholic beverages. Yeah. And in hadith, we have like a wild animal, yeah, carnivorous as the haram animal or animal which are prohibited, an animal with sharp teeth and claws, yeah, amphibia. Amphibia means animal who live in both land and water. Yeah. And according to Fatwa MUI, also we have the decision that parts of human body are haram to be utilized in any kind of products because human is we have to, yeah, we have to give respect for human, yeah, so we cannot utilize any part of human body. And there is an exception, all animal from the sea are halal, although not slaughtered. So this is the basic things, yeah. Several haram material which is clearly mentioned in Quran and also in Hadith, yeah. And there is also one other terminology which also closely related to the certification product, yeah. We call it as najis or najasah. Yeah. So what is the meaning of najis? Najis is the dirt or filth that cause unlawful worship. So if we in touch with najis, yeah, and we don't remove or we don't cleanse it, means that our worship become unlawful. Yeah. And there are three category of najis. First is heavy najis. Yeah. Uh, so the material which is categorized as heavy najis is pig and its derivative, and the saliva from dog. Yeah. Maybe the relevant that usually used in industry is pig and its derivative, not saliva from dog. Yeah. And how the way to cleanse for the heavy najis, wash 7 times with water, and one of them mixed with soil or cleaning agent that can remove the taste, color, and also smell of the najis. So this is the first category of najis here. And the second category of najis is medium najis. Yeah? The example here is urine, feces, carrion, homer, blood, yeah, something like that. And maybe the relevant with the product is carrion, yeah, or homer or blood. Yeah? And how the way to cleanse it was until the najis already removed. with the criteria is color, odor, and taste already removed. Yeah. And the third najis is light najis. Light najis is coming from urine from baby boy who only breastfeed. Yeah. Maybe this is also not relevant with the product, yeah, that certified. Yeah. And way to cleanse it is just splash with water or wipe it with a wet cloth. Yeah. So this is the najis. And object that is exposed to najis material is called as mutanajis or in touch with najis. Yeah. And what is the relation with halal certification process? Yeah. Every najis and mutanajis material is haram to be used internally or external use. Yeah. But not all haram material are necessarily najis. For example, materials that derive from hair and horn of halal animal but not slaughtered in Islamic way is haram for internal use but not najis for external use. So this is also one of the consideration because some of the cosmetic material, the applicator, for example, could be coming from hair, yeah, uh, for, from a kind of animal. So this become the criteria to decide whether those material or those applicator that coming from hair from a certain animal can be used or cannot be used. And uh, next consideration is mutanajis material or mutanajis facility means facility that already contact with najis can be washed by removing the najis according to Islamic purification requirements. Yeah. Uh, so that's the relation between najis and halal certification process means if there is a facility that already contact with najis or in touch with najis, so before use for halal certification process, it must be washed accordingly. Yeah. Okay, now I go to why cosmetics must be halal because the connotation of cosmetic is something which is not eaten. Yeah. So there are actually two reasons. First, if we see from the application, cosmetics can be used in internal use, mean can be eaten or swallowed, such as lipstick or lip balm. Yeah. So of course, the ingredient must comply with the criteria of a halal ingredient. Yeah. And the second category of cosmetic is a cosmetic that used externally, or we call it external use, that will be applied to some part of human body, yeah, on a certain time maybe, and maybe affect the ablution status, yeah, because when we would like to pray, yeah, Muslim must wash a certain part of their body, yeah, so that the prayer or the worship, the praying will be lawful and accepted. So we can give the example here is hair coloring, yeah, or decorative cosmetics which are claimed as waterproof, yeah, uh, cannot permeable by water. Yeah. So it uh, can affect the ablution status if Muslim use that kind of cosmetic. Yeah. So this is the first reason. And some cosmetic ingredient, the second reason, are critical materials according to its halalness. So by certification process, so those material will be reviewed by the auditors, yeah, and those material must comply with the requirement of the halal material. Yeah. So here we can see that currently company develop some product of cosmetic that voodoo-friendly makeup mean permeable with water, yeah, or even also nail polisher, yeah, that also permeable to water, yeah, and so after they wash it, yeah, during the ablution process, so there is other type of cosmetic makeup product that should be quick and easy to reapply. Yeah. So this is the driven of this situation. And during certification process, yeah, LPPOM MUI using the MUI fatwa on cosmetics. And this is the fatwa that was issued in 2013, yeah, fatwa number 26. Yeah. So basically, the using of cosmetic is allowed as long as the cosmetic are not made from haram and najis material, and also material are safe, means the requirement is halal and toyib. Yeah. So this is according to the fatwa MUI. Secondly, if the cosmetic product contains genetically modified organisms, yeah, so if the gene coming from pork or human, those cosmetic become unlawful or haram. So this is the second. And thirdly, cosmetic product which use animal, mean animal from cattle, derived material or chicken that are not clear in the slaughtering process are makruh tahrim. Yeah. Hence must be avoided. So for example, let's say if there is a cosmetic using tallow, yeah, the fat from beef, but we don't know exactly, there is no clear information of the slaughtering process, so become makruh tahrim. So we must avoid, yeah, the using of that material. Yeah. And then cosmetic product which uses microbial material with unclear media information, whether involving material from pork or its derivative, also they must be avoided. Means if there is a using of some microbial ingredients such as, let's say, hyaluronic acid or santan gum, something like that, yeah, for cosmetic. So we have to ensure that there is no pork or pork derivative inside uh, those material or involved in those material. So that's the fatwa. And beside that, MUI also have issued some fatwa for relevant material of cosmetics. Actually, fatwa for material is quite many, yeah, because many questions from the audit process or from the people, yeah. But I just take that are relevant for cosmetic. First, all animal from the sea are halal to be used, yeah. And secondly, shellac, yeah, resin obtained from a small insect, Laccifer lactacare secretion also halal, as long as in the process also using halal material. And genetically modified organism halal as long as the gene are not from pig or human, and the process for making the GMO also not involving material from haram source. Yeah. And then one of coloring that quite often to be used in the cosmetic industry is carmine, or this is a kind of coloring that produced from small insect, namely cochineal. Yeah, this is halal as long as all additive and processing aid use are also halal. Yeah. And material from bees, yeah, for example, honey, royal jelly, bee pollen, beeswax, uh, it is halal to be used for cosmetics. And these are requirements of material for external product. Yeah, what we mean with external product is products which are applied externally yeah, not to be consumed. For example, here is face cream, body lotion, swimming block, something like that. And the following material can be used for external product. First, ethanol. So ethanol that not coming from alcoholic beverages is approved or allowed to be used for cosmetics product. And placenta, because many cosmetic also utilize placenta. Placenta, which is taken from the birth process of halal animals, also allowed. Yeah. And then fur, hair, and horns of halal animal carrion, including those are not slaughtered according to Islamic law. So again, that this is for external use. Yeah. And snail secretion, or we call it musin. So there is also fatwa regarding this material. And silkworm cocoons, because some of cosmetic also using this material. So fatwa of MUI also mentioning this material is allowed. And lastly, we have the questions, the experience, because we face the registration that use gold particle, and the cosmetic actually is for men. So we asked Fatwa Committee, yeah, regarding this matter. So gold particle for men for the purpose that in line with Sharia law and there is benefit and not dangerous is allowed to be used for men cosmetic. So this is for uh, material that usually used for cosmetic, but again that it is applied for external products cosmetic. Okay, so talking about the critical point of cosmetic, basically the source coming from the ingredients, yeah, that can be coming from synthetic process, yeah. Synthetic would be involving it organic material, so we have to know what is the source, yeah. Um, and plants, yeah, that involve additive and processing aids which are critical. Yeah. So there are many cosmetic ingredients that coming from the source, synthetic or plant, but involving additive and processing aids which are critical. And from animal also many, yeah, microbial products, also many ingredients of cosmetic coming from that. Also, there is a possibility of the using of part of human body. For example, human hair, which consists of, which contains keratin, yeah, also utilized as one of the cosmetic ingredient. Yeah. So this is the first critical point, the source of ingredient. And secondly, not only the ingredient, but also the applicator, because some of cosmetic, they use tools, yeah, to be applied for when people use it, such as brush, yeah. So we have to know what is the source of the brush. Yeah. And thirdly, if the cosmetic is claimed as waterproof cosmetic and such kind of waterproof, for example, sweat-proof cosmetics, yeah, sweat-proof cosmetic, so they must be water permeable. Yeah. What do we mean must be water permeable? So during the halal certification process, if there is a claim for the product, yeah, uh, that will be certified by LPPOM NUI as a waterproof cosmetic or sweat-proof cosmetic. So we take the sample and send it to the lab to be tested for their water permeability. Yeah. And the fourth, the critical point is related to the process, the production facility, yeah, especially if it is shared with pork or pork-derived material. So uh, that are the cosmetics critical points. Yeah. And here, this is just example material for cosmetic, the critical point, and some example. Yeah. So for from plant critical if the additive and processing aids are critical. Many example here, for example, plant extract, vegetable oil, fatty acid, vitamins, yeah, ethanol, glycerol, alpha hydroxy acids. We have experienced there is actually the extract from plant, but involving gelatin, and unfortunately, the gelatin coming from pork. Okay. So those ingredients cannot be used for cosmetic industry. So the basic ingredient actually is extract from plant, but the processing aid coming from porcine gelatin. Yeah. This is our experience. And well, what about synthetic material? Yeah, if the source and processing aids are critical source of the starting material for the synthetic product, for example, coming from organic source. Okay. So the material become critical. So we can give example here, some vitamin, yeah, allantoin, fatty acid, coloring material, or a combination between peptide with chemicals, yeah. So we face many synthetic material that actually the starting material coming from the derivative of protein, yeah, peptide. The source can be coming from animal or plant or microbial. Yeah. And if coming from human, this is forbidden according to fatwa. So we can give the example here as keratin or albumin or placenta. Yeah. And microbial product, many, yeah, that used in the cosmetic industry. So the critical point coming from the microbe itself, we call it culture, and the media, additive, and also processing aid. If those component of microbial product are critical, so the ingredient of cosmetic become critical. So we can give the example here is alpha hydroxy acid, some protein, or CoQ10, yeah. Botox may be very famous cosmetic. That actually this is the toxin from Clostridium botulinum that in the process involving the microbes, yeah, and media. And now we have fermented rice water. This is also microbial product. So we have to know exactly, yeah, the spec of the material. Actually, what is the fermented rice water? It is alcoholic beverages or organic acid, something like that. Yeah. And now the recent trend is the using of kefir. Yeah, masker from kefir is very famous. And animal also become one of the cosmetic ingredient source. So we have to check what is the type of animal. Yeah, from pork it is prohibited, and if this is from cattle, so how is the slaughtering process? Yeah. So we can give the example here: collagen, elastin, placenta, fatty acid, fat. Yeah, here for example tallow, uh, lanolin from the wool of the sheep. Yeah. Lard is the fat from pork, so it is prohibited or haram, cannot be used for cosmetic ingredient. Vitamin, allantoin, enzyme, yeah, and etc. And again, that we have to use the fatwa that any using of the material or ingredient coming from animal, and there is no information about the slaughtering process, so they are makruh tahrim, hence must be avoided. Yeah. So that's for material. Yeah. So yeah, so this is the data actually, yeah, that maybe in Indonesia we have many cosmetic company, yeah, with 1,000 SKU, but in fact, yeah, based on the statistic of cosmetic products certified by MUI, actually the number is not as the number for cosmetics that commercially marketed in Indonesia. So this is based on Serol. And for this year, 2020, the data is until August 2020. Yeah. So here we can see the what we call it, the not many increasing. Yeah. So here, for example, if 2016 is about 4,000, then in 2070 is quite many. Yeah. In 2018, maybe some is renewal of the product from 2016 because the halal certificate from MUI valid for 2 years, and the increasing is not many. In 2019, yeah, also there is a bit increased number of the product, but also not many. Yeah. So this is the fact. Uh, why? Yeah. So maybe this is the challenge that we face, yeah, during halal certification of cosmetic. So I will see from 2 points of view. First is from supplier. What we mean with supplier here is producer of materials. Yeah. So we can give the analysis here that based on our experience, many cosmetic material are in the trade name, yeah, not in the chemicals name. So we have to find the chemical names of what actually the material, and then we analyze what is the critical point. Yeah. We try to obtain the information further, yeah. And then the same type of material with different code has totally different halal status. So this is also the challenge of the supplier to understand this situation. Yeah. So that if they have to send the material for the producer of cosmetic product that will be certified, so they must aware about the code. We have experience, yeah, that I already mentioned before. There is a plant extract with a certain code. Yeah. In the beginning, a company used that code because already review and there is no critical material involved, yeah, or there is a processing aid, but the halal status is clear. Then in the other time, yeah, the supplier send the wrong code, the different code, but the company that received the material not realize, and the supplier also not realize with different code, how is the halal status? Because the specification of material is the same. Specification here is the specification related to the quality, yeah, quality to make a certain quality of product, cosmetic product. Unfortunately, by having different code, after we perform audit, we find that those different code involving processing aid, which is haram. Yeah. So this become the problem. Yeah. So this is the challenge of a supplier, that means the producer of material, that they must understand once they give the different code, uh, maybe the specification of the quality for quality is the same, but the quality or the criteria of halal may be different. So this becomes a problem. And cosmetic very common to have the complex material. Yeah, there is a base. From base we have sub base, many sub base, or there is a premixes inside a premix. So one premix actually contains many premixes that we have to know exactly what is the ingredient. Maybe some part of ingredients are critical, but the other are not critical. But of course, on the certification process, supplier must provide very clear information for this complex material. So this is the challenge of supplier to open all the information in the purpose of halal certification process. Okay. And also some of material is produced in facility that is not pork free. Yeah, we uh, we see, for example, hydrogenated castor oil. They are produced in the same line with lard, something like that. Yeah, actually, this is coming from castor oil, but they use the same facility with lard. So what is the challenge? Actually, supplier means the producer of material must understand material requirement. So they must provide the sufficient supporting documents, yeah, that can give clear information regarding the halal status of the material. Yeah. And the second stakeholder, yeah, that have challenge on this certification process is the producer of product. Yeah. Producer of product facing that they have to manage a lot of material, yeah, and some is a complex material. Also, they have a lot of product, 1,000 SKU, yeah, and some of company they have many production site, maybe some owned by the company itself, but other owned by other parties, yeah, by using ODM or OEM system, something like that. So what is the challenge actually? So the producer of product must have a deep understanding on how to set up and implement halal assurance system according to the business process. Yeah. Means they need a competence team that understand about the requirement of halal assurance system. And then how LPFOM MUI to face the challenge? Yeah, yeah, we actually grow together. Yeah, with the experience of uh, halal certification of many types of product, including cosmetics. So first, LPFOM MUI improved the auditor competence through several specific training and evaluation, of course, related to cosmetics. Yeah. So we gave cosmetic material knowledge and the requirement of supporting document, business process types, yeah, because many business types of process business will affect how we can verify, yeah, the system that is applied by company, especially related to the halal assurance system. We are also given with ERP module, yeah, and audit technique module of the training, yeah. And then we develop the audit system for such complex business process. So how to perform audit effectively, we also develop the system, yeah. And to perform that, we also develop tools. Yeah, LPFOM MUI have developed some tools to review cosmetic material. We have issued positive risk material that company also can have those information. We publish it, and we also have a degree of supporting documents of critical material that give guidance for auditor how to review the material. If the material having, if inside the ingredient there is other ingredient, so there is the ingredient level 1, level 2, how far we have to obtain the information, or what kind of information that we have to obtain, and from which part we have to obtain those status or those information regarding the ingredient level 1 or level 2. Okay. And we also have the books, namely requirements of halal material, that can be used as the tools for auditors when they review the cosmetic material. And yeah, for the conclusion remarks, actually facing those challenges, yeah, stakeholders that involve in halal certification process of cosmetic have to have the human resource which is competent. And how we obtain the competence? Of course, through training. Yeah. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much. I give the time back to Ibu Dewi. Thank you, Ibu Dewi.
Thank you, Dr. Mulyorini, for your very comprehensive presentation. Now we will continue to the second presentation from Ms. Hamida Minhaj with the title Halal Certification in Cosmetic Industry, Challenges and Opportunities. Ms. Hamida currently holds the positions of Director, Global Regulatory Affairs Asia Pacific for Colgate-Palmolive with 26 years of experience in regulatory affairs management of cosmetics, pharmaceutical, and medical device products. Ms. Hamida is also the Global Halal Coordinator for Colgate-Palmolive. She has been actively involved in the development of ASEAN Cosmetic Directive prior to the directive implementation and continue to participate in all related meetings with the ASEAN authorities after the directive implementations. She has contributed to the development of Malaysia Halal Standard for cosmetic products and is a panelist for the development of the occupational framework for halal and the development of the Malaysia National Occupational Skills Standard for Halal initiatives under the Ministry of Human Resources of Malaysia. Ms. Hamida is also an experienced trade association leader and for the last 20 years led the Cosmetic, Toiletries and Fragrances Association in Malaysia as either the president, vice president, and board member of the association. Recently, she is the Vice President for Public Relations and International Affairs of the ASEAN Cosmetic Association, ACA. Ms. Hamida is now based in Hong Kong, where she relocates with the teenage daughter. I would like to invite Ms. Hamida to share your presentation. You have 30 minutes for the presentation. Over to you, Ms. Hamida.
Thank you very much, Ibu Devi. I hope everyone can hear me well. And I would like to thank also IHATEC for inviting me to be a speaker today to talk about my topic. And I would like to be transparent here that what I'm going to share with you are not necessarily my personal opinion, but rather input that I gather from my participation in forums with the trade association or the industry player over the years. So basically, when we talk about my topic, and I hope yes, halal certification in cosmetic industry, challenges and opportunities. Well, because I do believe that besides challenges, there are opportunities that we can actually tap into when we look at the halal certification of this industry. Next slide, please. Now, for the last, at least the last decade, we see a steady growth in halal cosmetic market globally. And this is primarily driven by the rise in Muslim population and consumer awareness for halal products. Dr. Mulyorini had shared just now that we now in the world have about 1.8 billion of the total world population that represents 24% that are Muslims. Next slide, please. So when you look at the global cosmetic market size, and then you compare to the halal cosmetic market size, you can see that there definitely a lot of opportunity for this industry to grow, the halal industry to grow. In 2019, when we look at the figure, that is, I think, about 532. I believe that my slide has sort of altered for a bit in terms of the positioning. Only about 5% of that total value in US billion dollars are halal certified cosmetics. And when we look at the projection, it was projected that by 2025, you will have about a growth of 700. I cannot see because of the slide disorientation a bit. 700 over 700 billion US dollars of the expected total market for global cosmetics. We see the growth of about 6%, about 6.86% of the total market size will be cosmetics that are halal certified. Nonetheless, the COVID-19 situation that we experienced since early this year is expected to affect the growth of the market. Someone had predicted that there is a fall of 20 to 30% of the actual growth of the cosmetic market this year. And we can expect that the halal cosmetic industry will also experience similar um, depletion in growth for this year. When we look at halal products, let us understand that halal goes beyond color cosmetics. It is also personal care products, oral care products, skin care, as well as fragrances. Next, please. Now, why is there the need for halal certification? People may ask you. Then I would like to talk about the need from three main stakeholders here. Next, please. Now, the three main stakeholders are the consumers, the business, and the regulators. From the consumer standpoint, the halal certification and halal logo and packs actually give them the assurance of safety, quality, and Sharia compliance of products, be it from the angle of ingredients. Ibu Mulyorini had spoken a lot about ingredients in cosmetics, and also from the manufacturing process, and not even that, the entire supply chain process, the quality, safety, and efficacy, and compliance to halal standards requirement. For the business, why they need to go for halal certification? It is to meet the increasing consumer demand for halal products. And also, it is an important marketing tool for the business to tap the growth opportunities in the Muslim majority markets. Now, for the regulators or for the halal certification bodies, it is more for the protection of the consumers. We want to make sure that all claims that are made related to halal are truly supported and substantiated. Next slide, please. Now, halal certification does not come without challenges, especially from the business perspective. We have heard a lot about the expectations and the requirements of halal from the angle of raw materials from Ibu Mulyorini. So I would like to share with you what are the main challenges experienced by the industry at the moment when we talk about halal certification. Next slide, please. Now, halal certification is admittedly time consuming and resource intensive. Why? When a company is committed to apply and go for halal certification, there are a lot of processes that they have to go through before they can even apply for the halal certification. From the angle of their products, they have to make sure that the raw materials are halal compliant. From the angle of processes, they want to make sure that the products or the processes, the facilities are also halal compliant. Let's look at the suppliers and the raw materials. You know, when you assess your products and you find that there are some critical ingredients that require halal certification, before you can even apply for halal certification, you have to convince your raw material suppliers to secure first a halal certification from a competent halal certification body. Now, if they refuse to do so or they are unable to do so, because as Ibu Mulyorini explained, they're probably processes in the plant that they are doing right now that will not be able to comply with halal standard requirements. And if that happens, you have to go and change suppliers, find suppliers that can meet your expectations and requirements for halal standard requirements. Then you also may have to do a reformulation to make sure that your formula, your ingredients are in compliance. And when you look at the cosmetic products, some cosmetic formulations are very complex and it's not easy. Now, if you change formulation, people in the industry will know that you have to go around the R&D, you have to make sure that your products, finished products with this reformulation will still meet your quality specifications, still safe, and it's still going to deliver the benefits, the claim benefits for the product. For the plant, you may need to modify your plant layout, your facilities, and your processes to avoid cross contamination. You have heard from Ibu Muriori that you are not going to be allowed to produce in the same line products that contain ingredients that will not be acceptable as halal. Perhaps pork and pork derived materials. Definitely, there's a no. There's no mix of this type of products with your halal certified products. You may need to invest in new facilities as well as new equipment. Next slide, please. Human resources is another aspect that we have, industry will have to take into consideration. You have to assign resources with defined roles and responsibility to manage and ensure continuous halal compliance, not only at the point of certification, but throughout the product life cycle. You have to make sure that the halal compliance is there. Then you have to invest in staff training on halal standards, guidelines, and related areas to make sure that you have competent pool of people to drive the halal compliance and certification process. And of course, when you are committed to do halal certification, there must be a creation of new SOPs or the updating of the existing SOPs or SPIs and your manuals and policy to make sure that you are in compliance with halal assurance management system. Next slide, please. Then from the industry perspective, we also look at standards, guidelines, and certification bodies. At the moment, we see no true harmonized halal standards and certification procedures, be it regionally or globally. Now, we know that there is guidelines or standards created by SMIC, the Standards and Metrology Institute for Islamic Countries, for cosmetics. But are these really truly adopted by every halal certification body? Our understanding, not at the moment. Then we look at bilateral and multilateral reciprocal arrangement between halal authorities. We still see gaps in this area. Um, for example, there may be bilateral agreement of recognition of each other's halal certification between halal authorities in country A and country B. But there may be conditions imposed on that recognition, may not be all encompassing. At the same time, if country B goes to country C for certifying halal of products or raw materials in country C, that certification of country B for country C may not be recognized by country A because there are no real multilateral agreements or reciprocal arrangement between the halal certification bodies. At the same time, we see that there is a need for more skilled manpower at the authorities level to assess cosmetic ingredients and products. And we are talking actually about the global halal certification bodies, and we are not specific. We understand that, say, for example, MUI may have a better skilled human resources in this area because there are trained manpower in MUI that can actually and competent to do halal assessment or assessment of cosmetic ingredients. Next slide, please. Now, when we look at all this that the companies have to do, ensuring continuous compliance, there is impact of halal certification to end product costs. Why? The halal certification fees can be substantial, especially if you have to go for multiple certifications. This fees per se may not be as high. However, if uh, a company in country C have to invite a halal certification body in country A to certify the products, then you have to factor in also the cost for etiquettes, accommodation, and and other incidentals. There is an increase in raw materials costs because usually the non-halal certified raw materials are more readily available than the halal certified raw materials. Then the investment in R&D, plant processes, and human resources. And then this can also be, having to hire a consultant to advise the company on halal standards certifications. And ultimately, the increase in cost of the processes and products will probably be shared also by the consumers. Next slide, please. Besides what I have shared with you, there are also other challenges that the industry need to overcome when they are doing halal certification or if they put halal logo on packs. Next slide, please. First, let's look at the industry integration. We see inadequacy of integration of halal cosmetics into the framework of the global cosmetic industry at the moment. There seems to be a clear deviation between halal cosmetic and non-halal cosmetics or non-halal certified cosmetics. And we also as industry need to gain consumer trust and loyalty when we put halal logo on pack. Why? Let me share with you my experience last year. I was in an international forum talking about halal certification for cosmetic products. Now, a gentleman from a very well-known cosmetic company then raised a concern that putting a halal logo on the prestige brands that they carry, the prestige brands means a cosmetic that usually you see in a big departmental stores, very highly priced. They There is a kind of a perception that halal logo will then bring down the consumer perception of the quality of the products and the preference for the products. And therefore, we need to educate skeptics on halal certified products. We have to tell them halal certified products does not mean it's poor quality. It is high quality, it is safe, and can be used. It is universal, can be used by everyone. Then we also have to be mindful that there are counterfeit products with halal claims in the market, or maybe also genuine products with misleading halal claim. There could be people making unscrupulous companies or people making claims that their products are halal, but are not truly verified through the halal certification process. Next slide, please. Then when you look at industry like this cosmetic industry, it is an innovative and fast-paced industry. Cosmetic industry is continuously, looking at innovations. It has to have rapid innovations, looking at new ingredients, functional ingredients for better function products or products with better efficacy. But at the same time, we know that halal certified raw materials are not necessarily available. And we also have heard from Ibu Mulyorini the type of materials or sources that cannot be used as raw materials for halal products. So there lies a challenge also for the industry. At the same time, at the industry level itself, we see a lack of skilled resources in halal certification and compliance management in certain territories. We may have more people in the industry doing halal certification competent to do so in, say, Indonesia and Malaysia, for example. But again, the pool may not be that big, and these people are always snapped by another competitor when we look at the resource needs. But what more when you look at other territories where you probably don't have that many trained people to help the companies to actually spearhead and manage the halal certification process. Next slide, please. So there are opportunities really when you look at it on how to address gaps and promote growth of the halal cosmetic industry. There is an opportunity to increase the percentage of the share of the halal cosmetic industry versus the total global cosmetic industry market. Next slide, please. We hope as an industry for better government incentives. We recognize and realize that maybe not every government in the world will be open for better incentives for the halal industry, but perhaps we can look at the Muslim countries. Because the better incentives, even including maybe subsidies or the tax incentives, can help raw materials and finished products producers to at least maintain or control costs. At the same time, we request for harmonized standards and reciprocal arrangements, more multilateral agreements between halal authorities to reduce complexity, avoid multiple certifications, and promote process streamlining. At the moment, it is a real situation faced by the industry. At times, the same plant producing the same products are certified by perhaps three different halal certification bodies because of the lack of multilateral reciprocal arrangement. So why do we need to have so many competent authorities coming to the same plant, looking at the same processes, looking at the same formulation and products to certify the product as halal? If there are multilateral arrangement, perhaps this situation can be avoided in the future. Perhaps in certain territories or countries, there can be a creation of agency to develop the halal industry. The agency can be country or region specific. And we encourage that if ever this kind of agency is developed, then people who has the experience, the subject matter experts, can be invited as advisors to the agency. Some countries do have agencies like this, like Malaysia has the Halal Industry Development Corporation to do just that. Next slide, please. At the level of consumer education and awareness to alleviate all the skeptics that halal products are substandard and of no better quality than the non-halal products, then perhaps regulators and industry can collaborate to educate consumers on the principle of halal certification. Perhaps the trade associations and chamber of commerce also can do their part in educating the consumers, working closely with the authorities. We encourage stakeholders' engagement, especially in the development of rules, policies, standards for halal, to ensure that there are no surprises for the end users of the halal certification. And also we encourage for more open and frequent dialogue amongst all stakeholders to understand each other's concerns and how mutually and the all stakeholders can align to address gaps. Human capital development is clearly important. Ibu Mulya already had touched about it. We need skill and competent resources, more of these resources at the industry as well as the regulators level for halal compliance and certification management, and also the ability to assess cosmetic products and formulation. Next slide, please. So what is the future for the halal cosmetic industry? We believe that the first that the industry has to do is to have speedy recovery from the COVID-19 negative impact to bounce back to grow the industry. There is a need for this industry to expand the business channels and increase growth and presence in e-commerce segment. The industry also has to focus on developing innovative products. At the moment, we probably have not seen that many innovative products in the market. We see more, the essential products that halal certified. Maybe we see some color cosmetics, but where are the more innovative products? Focus on designing market level strategies to leverage the potential opportunities in the growing consumer base. At the same time, develop branding and proposition that are appealing to all consumers, not only to Muslims. At present, at times we see that halal cosmetic producers are only branding their products as halal, but not really talking about the innovations and the benefits of their products. So that is something that the industry can also think of in the future. So with that, thank you very much. And I'll pass it over to Ibu Dewi. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hamida, for very insightful presentations. Now we are going to review the third presentation regarding challenges of halal certification in the cosmetic industry that will be delivered by Mr. Mian Nadim Riaz, PhD, CFS. Dr. Riaz is Ivanka's Professor of Food Diversity in Food Science and Technology Department, Texas A&M University, USA. He joined the university 27 years ago after completing his PhD in food science. Dr. Riaz published 6 books, and 2 of the books are in the area of halal food production. His first book, titled Halal Food Productions, is being used in the most universities for food science and nutrition major students. This book has been translated into Chinese, Persian, and Korean languages. His second book, titled Handbook of Halal Food Production, is published in 2019. Currently, he teaches a course of religious and ethnic foods at Texas and A&M University to food science and nutrition major. He has given more than 500 talks in 60 different countries. I would like to invite Dr. Riaz to start the presentation. Over to you, Dr. Riaz.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much for the invitations, and want to say thanks to IHATAC for that invitation. And it was very nice to get the invitation and give a talk to the other side of the world. Good morning, good evening for the people who are watching from the USA. And I'm going to go through some of the challenges that halal cosmetic industry are facing currently, and hopefully give you some idea what are that challenges and opportunities we have it. Some of the background, everybody know the market potential worldwide. There is no discussion on that. Globally, this demand is for more than 20 billion US dollar. The market of the halal cosmetic is growing very rapidly. And this is not only to the Muslim consumer, but also to mainstream consumer market, Muslim and non-Muslim as well. You can see from here very briefly that global halal cosmetic market in 2015, and then you can see also here if here is 2025, and you can also see here the market share from the Asia Pacific, and you can also see that also from Middle East. These are the growing market, emerging trends, and high growth segments, and that's what we are going to discuss here, because as I said, there are 22.4 billion Muslim consumers worldwide. However, the demand of halal cosmetics still unmet. Why is that? Because most of the halal cosmetic industry is dominated by non-halal cosmetic manufacturers. Production may not qualify for halal. Halal cosmetic. Muslim women value beauty just like other women. Simultaneously, Muslim women require the choice of beauty product being in line with halal requirement. If you notice that around 15 to 20 years ago, the cosmetic industry have not heard the word halal. Halal was not even mentioned in cosmetic industry. It was only mentioned in the food industry. Today, it has been tremendously known as important, influential element of the industry. Unfortunately, there are still a lot of misunderstanding, myth of its significance, rules, and belief. We still have to overcome these misconceptions. When you talk about the term halal cosmetic, what does really mean? It means it simply satisfies the skin and soul by making sure that our skin and our soul is satisfied. It does not harm any of our body. They should not contain any ingredients who are harmful, not only to the body, but also to the environment. Therefore, as I said, we have to break some stereotypes about halal first, especially in Europe and in USA. There are many misconceptions about halal. For example, cruelty to animals is for them, not for us mentally. Product must contain meat. Unless we teach the manufacturers of cosmetics what does really halal means, we cannot win that challenge. And when you talk about halal cosmetic concept, even with a Muslim and non-Muslim consumer, you cannot only talk about that ingredients are not harmful. You cannot just talk about that these are halal certified products. In Islam, products are associated with value and ethics. Halal branding lies with emotions, relationship between the producer and the cosmetics. You are a Muslim consumer or you're a non-Muslim consumer. You must have some kind of emotional relationship. What that means, emotional relationship. For example, eco-ethical lifestyle as becoming the fastest growing market in the world. Is this cosmetic I'm using, is it green? Is it sustainable? Is it eco-friendly? Is it ethical? Is done the fair trade? Is maybe organic or maybe non-toxic? What is your conscience when you use this one? The conscience tell you, have these ingredients are tried on animals. Have these ingredients are derived from these animals. How they are tested on these animals. No exploitations of animals, of the raw materials. When you are developing these cosmetics, are you considering the environment? Are you considering the recycling, reducing and carbon footprint every product you are making? Are you looking your social responsibility? Fair trade, no exploitation of the people. Make sure you're following these eco-ethical system before you want to develop a halal product. And our first speaker also mentioned about tayyiban, the word tayyiban, what that means. Halal cosmetics also follow the halal and tayyiban concept which we follow in the food industry. What that means by tayyiban? Wholesome, good, healthy, safe, clean, nutritious, quality. Therefore, if you go back and look the meaning of wholesome in the dictionary, what that means, wholesome? Helping to keep your body healthy, good for your health. If every time you consume any cosmetics, are you want to make sure that this is a wholesome product, I'm going to use it? This is good for my body, for my mind, for my morals? Or once I use it, I feel guilty that I'm using this cosmetics, which is harm to my body. Sometimes we don't realize that each of these cosmetics, the shampoos, the eye shades, the lipsticks, the blush, the body lotion, how many chemicals are in each of these products. We want to make sure that these chemicals are not harming our body. They may be from natural formulation, maybe from organic source, and free from harmful ingredient. Unfortunately, you find nowadays the product which contain lot of toxin chemical. That product cannot be halal and tayyiban. If you find there, you can find a very heavy metal in the foundation. You can find lead in your lipstick. That is halal and tayyiban. That's what we were taught to use the word halal and tayyiban. Remember that, pure, wholesome. It should not have any effect on human body. But you can see that some of these chemicals can have a risk in reproduction. Some can decrease your fertility. Some of them can also have some issue with the children development. Some of them can have effect on respiratory systems. Some of them are carcinogenic. And some are maybe have some other issues too. Therefore, my question to all of you is, when you are developing a product for halal industry, do you keep this thing in your mind? That we are going to produce a product which is halal and tayyiban, not only halal. Why? Because you know that, and there's a lot of studies done, that when you apply any cosmetics on your skin, it will go through your bloodstream. It will absorb on your body. What that means, that you are harming your body. You are getting all the toxin into your body. Some synthetic and petrochemical based cosmetics may be harmful not only to your body but to also the environment, which we are the protector. Therefore, it is our duty that we want to make sure that these chemicals, most commonly 12 toxins that produced in the personal care product, can cause sensitivity and allergies, can cause cancer. Do you want halal cosmetic which will cause cancer to the human? For halal cosmetic, there should not be any ingredients which is harmful to your body. So what are the challenges that we are facing? There are thousands of technical and patented names for cosmetic ingredients. You literally need a dictionary of cosmetic ingredients. There is no way that you can identify any ingredient. Many ingredients in the cosmetic industries can be from animal, vegetable, or synthetic origins. How would you know which ingredients you are using it? The source is from animal, the source is synthetic. We want to make sure that sometimes we don't fool with the word natural. Most of these ingredients will say natural sources. What that means? For your information, natural sources can also mean animals. And most often, the cosmetic industry, it means animal sources, such as from animal elastins, glands, fat, protein, and oil. Therefore, don't get fooled when some say this is a natural ingredient that automatically qualify for the halal cosmetics. Here I got an example of one of the label, and please go through the label and see if you can identify any ingredients and their source. Maybe one or two, but most of these ingredients you will be not able to find what are the sources are. They include countless ingredients, including water, oil, surfactant, polymers, organic solvents, colorants, proteins, vitamins, plant extracts, preservatives, antioxidant, and list goes on that we use hundreds and thousands of these ingredients. And on the top of that, these countless ingredients are mixture of ingredients from plant sources and animal sources put together. How would you know that this ingredients I'm using it is not from the animal source? Therefore, manufacturer have a very strict evaluation process for each ingredient's source prior to development and the production. And then, of course, other challenge we have for the modern cosmetic ingredients is some of these ingredients are derived from microorganisms. Now, that can be halal, but what was the media you used to grow these microorganisms? If there was blood from the pork, that you grew that all organism. And on the top of that, some of these ingredients can be modified with animal enzyme. You do not have to tell anybody you are modifying this chemical or these ingredients with that enzyme. You don't have to mention it. Therefore, you can use an animal enzyme to modify an ingredient. Therefore, verification is the most important part to make sure the ingredients you are using it are halal source. We heard briefly about GMO. Of course, GMO from the halal sources are okay to use in halal cosmetics. But what if genetic materials was used from the haram source? Then all the ingredients you make from that will be not considered halal. That will be not halal, that will be haram. And if you find it you will find that agriculture-based ingredients, mostly starches, oils, some other ingredients, they are always GMO-derived ingredients. And we must know the origin. I'm not saying GMO is not allowed, but what I'm saying here is we want to make sure even the agriculture-based ingredients are only halal if they are derived from that halal sources. If you're using anything which is non-halal, then this will not qualify GMO ingredient. We thought that will end all the problem. But modern biotechnology created other challenge for us, especially for the cosmetic industry. Stem cell, that most commonly you find it in anti-aging creams and related product. What is the sources of the stem cell? Of course, most can be from botanical origin, but recently we see a lot of stem cell from the skin of human skin obtained, and then it's been processed to be used in the cosmetic industry. The halal status of the stem cell is very important, and halal certified may reject if they cannot find a traceable documents of this ingredient. And by the way, halal cosmetics are not used only for Muslim. They are used for all kind of consumer. People may be Muslim, non-Muslim, vegetarians, all kind of people. Therefore, it is important that we go through from each of these ingredients very strict halal certification process to make sure we're not using anything which is from non-halal. And it is very easy to say that than to follow. Next few slides, I'm going to give you some example, the partial list of some of these questionable ingredients where we're using it in our cosmetics nowadays. Everybody familiar with the gelatin? I don't have to say anything more. It's used in the nail polish removers, used in the moisturizers, removing a lot of different cosmetics. And I know that everybody knows what gelatin is. This is basically a raw materials for the gelatin. Also, in a lot of countries, including Muslim countries, people who lives in the tents, they have dead animals, and they will collect all the bones from these dead animals. And then they will transport these bones to a gelatin manufacturing facility where they will use to manufacture the gelatin from all these dead animals. And on the top of that, of course, the pig industry. If you ever have a chance, look over called sustainable swine resource. According to them, Mother Earth has provided us with one of the best gifts from the nature, the pig. Because we can use this one, harvest these lot of ingredients that we can use in a lot of different food product plus cosmetic industry. And it's not only the pigs, but what I said, a dead animal, if you have a cow, there's every single ingredients from these cows are derived to use in cosmetics. Of course, if it's not properly slaughtered halal, all these ingredients will be not halal suitable. Collagen, other questionable ingredients, mostly find from connective tissues in the animals, used in cream, moisturizers, also used in cosmetic industry. And we want to make sure they are from the halal sources. Most of the time we use them to promote our hair and nails, reduce wrinkles, improve the skins, act as a moisturizer in the cream. Therefore, What is the, of course, source will be gelatin, but hydrolyzed gelatin. We want to make sure that what ingredients we're using it, if they are qualified as halal. We heard briefly also allotonin is present, usually get from botanical extract. The plant, comfrey is the one you get that one, but also it can get from urine of the most mammals. How do you know which source you are using it? And mostly it is used in toothpaste, mouthwash, other hygienic products, shampoo, lipsticks, skin cares, toners, moisturizer, you name it. Therefore, it's important that we need to know the source. We also heard briefly keratin. That's come from feathers, horns, wools, hoof, hairs. And this is mostly used that very common cosmetic ingredient in some of the tropical applications. And due to its moisturizing properties, it can incorporate in shampoos, conditioners, and moisturizers. Glycerin, glycerols, sometimes we call it different names, can be from the animal source, can be from the byproduct of animal fat. And we use that in a lot of different products, moisturizer, cleansers, and aftershave lotions. Oleic acids can also be from the animal source. It's colorless, odorless, and it's used commercially in the shampoo and also some other cosmetic product. Palmitic acid. It's also get from the animals and mostly used in some of the cosmetics and also used in some of the soap. Usually comes, you have beef tallow, from there you get all that palmitic acids, then you use that. Stearic acids, many animal source, you do not know which one is in your label. It does not say the source, it doesn't say halal, it doesn't say anything. What about stearyl alcohol? This is organic compound. It's not alcohol. It's used in the moisturizer as thickening agents. And most of the time is obtained from shea nuts and of course coconut oil, but also it can be from animal fat. If animal is not slaughtered properly, then it's not halal suitable. We heard about snail slimes. It's a body secretion from the snails that are used in the cream, lotion, and cosmetics. And you even see right now, there are a lot of people using a snail cosmetics and doing their own skincare with that. Turtle oil is extracted from the genital glands of the turtle that are used in a lot of different cosmetics. We heard about placenta. It's derived from the uterus of the animals. Animal placenta is widely used, skin cosmetics, shampoo, and mask. So what is the most common placenta available? Products. You find it from horses. That's very common. From pig. And of course from lamb, a sheep. Therefore you find these products in the market with the placenta. Emu oil, made from the fat of emu. Very good absorption for the skin. And how do we know that was halal slaughter emu that we are using all that? It could be that, it was dead and you just extracted that fat from there. Horse oil is the byproduct from the meat. And you find a lot of different products with the horse oil. For the beauty ingredients, in moisturizing product, human skin. Therefore, I have only 30 minutes and I finish almost 25 minutes. I cannot go through every single ingredients, but my point was that there are endless ingredients that we do not know the sources or they have changed the name. Therefore, ingredients is not only the concern for the halal certification process. We have to follow the same principle for the production of halal cosmetic we follow for the halal food. Cosmetic manufacturing should have also CGMP, ISO among the other standards. and of course the halal assurance systems. In order to do that, we talk about dedicated facilities. We have to have a dedicated facility. Also, it's not only the ingredients we are concerned. What about processing aid? What about packaging materials? Is that plant is fulfilling a requirement for the halal? Are they using anything like animal glue on the end of that, on the packaging? Therefore, there's a lot of challenges that we see there. But what I see the challenge major is that the development of halal cosmetic is still in its infancy stage. Integration of halal standard in the manufacture of the most cosmetic product remain inadequate. Global scarcity of guiding documents on the development and assessment techniques in the production of comprehensively halal cosmetics. And we heard earlier briefly, there is no formal audit of the facility. Lot of certifying agencies looking into the ingredients checklist because they don't have experience. Very little technical experience because they don't have a knowledge of chemistry and non-food industry. Who are the food auditors? I'm not blaming anybody. Do they have a knowledge of Islam and the science? Are they ulama, are the scientists, or they are the both? Do they understand chemistry? Do they understand how that GMO products are made? You know, nowadays, you can buy a halal chicken. But cosmetics, lot of money, but no clue what you're going to buy it. Therefore, summarizing the halal criteria for cosmetics, free from animal flesh, fat, gelatin, separation of the halal raw materials and finished product from non-halal, no cross-contamination. If we can produce gluten-free product, if we can produce gluten-free cosmetics, we can avoid all cross-contamination in cosmetic industry from the non-halal ingredients. Therefore, a cosmetic industry, the formulation need to start with the halal cosmetics, with the halal ingredients. Critical ingredients, ethanol, collagen, gelatin, must have a halal certification. Other critical ingredients, if you cannot verify it, cannot be used in the halal cosmetics. Doesn't matter what they tell you. Doesn't matter they tell you this is 100% from plant source. You have no idea how it's been processed. It must be a dedicated halal facility to make halal cosmetics. We heard that one. You cannot produce non-halal product on the same facility you're making a halal cosmetics. All the equipment must be dedicated for use only for the halal production. And on the last, halal cosmetic must be labeled according to each country's requirement. Label must bear a halal logo so consumer can feel confidence. Should accurately reflect the ingredients of the cosmetics so that consumer can make their decision and consumption. Therefore, there's a lot of challenges in the cosmetic industry. But I'm sure we can overcome this issue very easily as we came with the food, halal food production. As I said, this is a new 15, 20 years ago, just started, and we're learning it. And inshallah, we will learn that and we'll be happy to make halal product. With that, thank you very much for your attention. And I will be happy to answer any question we have later on. Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much for listening to me. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Dr. Riaz, for your very interesting presentation. Now we are going to start the Q&A session. Actually, I have seen many questions coming up. So let me first, I need to apologize because I'm sure we won't have time to run all through the questions. However, we have selected relevant questions to each speaker. So let me read the first question for Dr. Mulyorini. Okay. Dr. Mulyorini, what is the ethanol manufacturer is producing alcohol for both beverage and for industrial use? Is it still considered as halal? Dr. Mulyorini, uh, would you please to answer the question? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Dewi. Yeah. Okay, thank you for the attendee of this webinar that delivered this question, but I don't see the name because anonymous. Yeah, I checked from the chat, from the question and answer chat. So, okay, so actually, the using of ethanol based on MUI halal certification, we based on the fatwa from MUI that basically ethanol or alcohol can be used um, if it is not produced or coming from alcoholic beverages industry, from Homer industry. And the question is how if one of the manufacturer of ethanol, they actually produce two types of ethanol, yeah, one for beverage and the other for industrial use, yeah, is it still considered as halal? So yes, so we will evaluate based on the documents, yeah, because the characteristic of Homer and alcoholic beverages and ethanol is different. Yeah. So uh, based on the document, if they explain, yeah, they separate the facility, the process further after they obtain the alcohol also uh, clear. Yeah, there is a distillation because the ethanol that will be used for industry usually is pure ethanol that come into certain process like distillation. Yeah, the concentration also and a certain what do you call it number, yeah, percentage. So if it is clear coming from the line of industrial use ethanol, so it is okay. Yeah. So that's the answer, Ibu Dewi.
Thank you, Dr. Mulyorini. And the next
Okay.
question will be directed to Ms. Hamida. This is from Mr. Nur Wahid. Based on your experiences from cosmetic industry point of view, what is the remain obstacles for cosmetic to be halal certified? So, Ms. Hamida, I would like to ask your answer for this question, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Budevi. I would say that finding the acceptable raw materials, uh, perhaps the main obstacle. You have heard the presentation from Dr. Riaz how there are so many sources of raw materials in cosmetic products, and many of the sources may not be acceptable from halal standards standpoint. So to find acceptable raw materials in the industry, acceptable raw materials that can function as intended and deliver the benefits that we want the ingredients to deliver, perhaps is the strongest obstacle. The second one, perhaps, is to ensure continuous commitment from the management and also from the industry, making sure that halal standard, halal certification does not end only at the point of receiving the certification, but making sure that you have continuous compliance. So internally, your processes must be good in order to ensure that whenever you change formulation for existing products that are halal certified, or if your raw material suppliers change their process or the source of their raw materials, you are notified in advance to avoid cross contamination or your products suddenly become non halal or haram. Thank you, Budevi.
Thank you, Ms. Hamida, for your very clear answer. So let's go to the next question directed to Dr. Riaz. This is from Ms. Mary Gallardo. Regarding lead content in certain raw materials, which most of the pharmacopoeia allows certain content in part per million, should be zero to fulfill halal? Dr. Riaz, would you please to answer? Thank you.
Okay. When I say halal, of course, and also the tayyib concept, everything we need has to be tayyib. But if you go into extremely details, which that means parts per million, and scientifically there is no proof that it will allow. It is not najas and it's not that haram ingredient. What I was talking about is some people use a lot of leads in different parts of the world, which is very dangerous to the eyes. They use that one, and therefore we want to be careful that it does not exceed the limit if that is not harmful. And since it is not a najas or it is not a haram ingredients, it will be okay to use for the halal product, but you should try your best not to get any ingredients which cause any concern to the human body. And of course, if you need to know more about that, you need to talk with some ulama and get some fatwa, because I am a scientist and I can just let you know what is in it and how it works. But any other questions related to that, if you really want to know, I think I should contact that any of the scholars for fatwa for that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Riaz. It's very clear answer. So let's go to the second round of the Q&A. So I would like to read the question again for Dr. Mulyorini. Is using real human hair on hair extension is allowed or not regarding to the halal rules? Dr. Mulyorini, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ibu Dewi. Okay, so actually, currently the rule for this kind of what we call it the beautiness area is still on the fatwa committee meeting discussion. Yeah. So we have the small teams from fatwa committee that already review study on the hair extension using real human hair. The other thing is like prolong the eyelashes, something like that, or we put something in eyelashes, yeah, permanent or more permanently, yeah, tanam bulu mata, something like that. So now still on the pleno discussion of fatwa committee meeting. So for your information that in Indonesia, anything related to the halal haram is based on the fatwa decision. And for the food, drugs, and cosmetic, actually the system is if there is an issue coming from people, yeah, or from the halal certification process, then and we haven't have any rule for that, we will deliver this topic to the fatwa, the small team of fatwa. The small team will study. Sometimes we also invite the what we call the expert, yeah, to explain about that case, yeah, what is the benefit, what is the disadvantage, yeah, and of course based on the law before like Quran, Hadith, and also Qiyas, yeah, ijma ulama in the past, something like that. So then they will make like a draft, yeah, And based on the draft, it will be delivered to the big uh, meeting discussion of the whole member of Fatwa Committee. And her extension currently is still on the discussion in the pleno meeting, and we haven't have any decision. So uh, in this session, I cannot answer exactly, yeah, because we're still waiting for the decision from Fatwa Committee meeting.
Okay, Dr. Mulyorini, when we will expect it that the discussion will be finalized about this book?
Okay, so actually last week this draft already discussed, yeah, and yeah, hopefully not far from this time we have the final decision of that, and usually after we have the final decision, then it will be published, so
Okay,
we can access the information.
okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Mulyorini. And then the next question directed to Ms. Hamida. This is from moderator. So with regards to the consumer education that you mentioned in your presentation, what has been done so far by the industry to take this role?
Well, I believe that there probably is not that much at the moment when we talk about consumer education. What I've seen in the market, or rather in the country where I'm used to, there could be expo or a kind of exhibition that is being organized by parties of interest, where the industry can also participate in providing some kind of talks or speech to sort of share with the consumers about the halal industry, halal products, and whatnot. I've also seen, when we talk about education, it's more like socialization of sort, if you will, in certain territories where the industry people going together with the authorities to share the latest standards and guidelines, perhaps. But are there truly, really a real consumer awareness of sort? Maybe not that much, but I've seen efforts by authorities at time, educating the consumers maybe through the media, be it in print media, social media, or even in televisions. But I believe there are still room for improvement in this area, especially when we want to educate the masses, and not only the Muslim consumers, but more so the non-Muslim consumers about the benefits of having halal products, why halal products should be preferred by them as well, and halal should be regarded as universal. So there are areas of improvement, Udevi, for consumer education and awareness.
Thank you, Ms. Hamida. For sure that the cosmetic industry should take a very continuous education to the consumer in this role, yeah, Ibu, because it's never-ending education for the consumers.
Sure.
Next questions to Dr. Riaz. This is from Dian Novita. Does blood treatment for facial is halal, usually called as blood plasma treatment? Dr. Riaz, please.
Okay, as I mentioned that this question mostly go to religious scholars, but I can answer that blood plasma treatment for facial is halal. Is that is a health issue? Is that is necessity of life? And if that is a life and death, then of course it's okay to be used. But if it is just for the cosmetic purpose, just for make a beautification, then maybe you want to talk with first your ulama to see that you can get some kind of blood plasma treatment for your facial, because in Islam is not that strict religion as we think. There is always there is allowances for everything. If you are sick and you are dying and you don't have anything to eat, you can eat pork until you survive. Therefore, if that is the death or life issue, I'm sure you can do that. But if this is just a cosmetic, you may want to talk with your somebody is really a scholar who can give you proper fatwa. Thank you.
Yeah. And probably I just curious about the treatment itself, Dr. Riaz. Is there any halal certification for the treatment for in the beauty treatment like this blood plasma treatment? Is it the product or the treatment itself that need to be halal certified, Dr. Riaz?
I have not seen any kind of yet certified product qualify as a halal and they're doing a beautification products and all that. No, I have not seen that yet. But it may be
Okay.
that somebody like came up with a nail polish that's okay to use and make a wudu, so it's permissible. Similarly, people will come up with some kind of treatment as well and saying this is halal according to XYZ, and then of course it may be, but as of right now, no.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Riaz. Okay, the next question is directed to Dr. Mulyorini again. How to ensure the swab test in bar soap nozzle filling when using test kit by diluting in Peptone solutions? This question is from Ibu Dian Novita. Please, Dr. Mulyorini.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bu Dewi. So yeah, this is the one of the other issue, not only for the cosmetics industry, but for the uh, general product certification process. Yeah. So we have the issue regarding the swab test. Yeah. In this case, Ibu Dian asking how if we use a Peptone solution to validate the cleanliness after cleaning process for the bar soap filling machine. Yeah. So first, Ibu Dian, you have to know exactly what is the source of protein for peptone, because can be coming from animal, any kind of animal, including pork. And secondly, the hydrolysing material to make the peptone, to hydrolyze the protein. Yeah. Because the hydrolysing agent also can be coming from, let's say, the pork enzyme or maybe from microbial enzyme. So the company must having the information, must have the information from the peptone solution company. Yeah. What is the source of protein and what is the source of hydrolysing agent? Once using pork derived material PDM, so this peptone cannot be used for validation purposes. Yeah. So that's the answer, Bu Dewi.
Yorini. And then the next question is to Ms. Hamida, again from the moderator. Um, why do you think the consumer perceive the halal claim in cosmetic as eco-ethical lifestyle? Uh, they perceive it as green or sustainable or organic claims. Probably you have your insight from the industry perspective. Ms. Hamida?
There's not so much insight that I have on the industry, but I believe that if you're looking at perhaps that perception probably from the Muslim consumers rather than the non-Muslim consumers, because when they look at the raw materials, for example, most often the halal industry or rather the halal cosmetic products, we try to avoid using animal ingredients even if the animal is from halal source, because the accountability of assuring that the animal ingredients are always halal is very high throughout the life cycle of the product. So usually alternatives that are chosen by the companies are products or other ingredients, perhaps from plant or vegetable origin or even synthetic for that matter. So basically, when we look at that angle and you look at products from natural ingredients, non-animal natural ingredients, then it is perceived by the consumers that the products are sort of more ethical. there's no involvement of slaughtering of animals. There's no real animal ingredients used, and when it is natural, it resonates well with the consumers. And at the moment, when we look at the industry, not only on the cosmetic industry, but the entire consumer goods industry, you see that there is an increased demand by the consumers for natural products. And you see a lot of claims like naturals and organic. So perhaps that's the reason why, when you look at halal products, the consumers may be thinking as what you mentioned just now, especially for the products with the halal logo. Yep.
Thank you, Ms. Hamida. Okay, next question directed to Dr. Riaz. This is from Indah Prihandini. In Dr. Riaz's presentation stated that paraben will harm animals. Does it mean that the ingredient is not toiban? Please, Dr. Riaz.
Well, there's a different perception when we say the word tayyiban. Therefore, anything which can cause any harm to the human body should be avoided, because that's not a tayyib. Tayyib means pure, does not harm to the body. But if you find a parabens that can harm the animals or can harm the humans, then it's not a tayyib. But I'm sure there are some alternatives that can be used for making the halal cosmetics. But I don't know if Indonesia, they are saying also that you are allowing it, MUI allows some of that. If that means not tayyib, that answer, I cannot answer that, but I'm sure somebody else from MUI can answer that. But yes, if it contains some breast cancers, you think you want to add that one so that you can get breast cancer, is that worth it? Is that tayyib? Not in my book. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Riaz. Okay, and then the next question again to Dr. Mulyorini. We still have plenty of questions here. This is from Mr. Gurnanda Nur Alifiani. I have question about permeability tests of waterproof makeup. First, for waterproof makeup that not pass permeability test, is it possible to still state it halal because it is halal based on ingredient with some additional information like non-wudu friendly or please remove makeup before wudu? Because when the makeup is removed, wudu is still valid and it would not interfere the halal status of product itself. How do you think, Dr. Mulyorini? Please.
Yeah, well, thank you, Bu Dewi. Thank you, Pak Gurnanda. Yeah. So, in the certification process of MUI, part of the important point is once the makeup product are claimed as waterproof products, so must pass on permeability test. Means that if not passed, we will not certify the products. Yeah. But we have based on fatwa also, we asked fatwa, how about like swimming block? So if we see from the character, actually the swimming block is a product that used only for a certain purpose in a certain time, and after that people always wash, yeah, take a bath, yeah, rinse off all the swimming block. So if the swimming block cannot be passed from water permeability test, yeah, um, oh, sorry, this is not related with uh, for swimming block. Actually, is there is a material, let's say, coming from the makruh tahrim part, and then uh, uh, people use it only for a certain time, and also the producer put any information that if you would like to have to pray, so you have to cleanse. So this maybe can be certified, yeah. But for permeability tests, what do you call it? pass, it is compulsory for makeup, yeah, that will be certified by us. So the makeup must pass from permeability test. Yeah. Although
Mm.
the ingredient are halal, but if it is not passed, so we will not certify the product. Yeah.
Okay. So, Dr. Mulyorini, in this case, does the halal certification body also will check the uh, product packaging to prove the precaution that mentioned by the industry?
Yeah, in the case of a swimming block, actually yes, yeah. Of course, they must put the precaution or information that can be clearly accessed by the consumer. Yeah, that they must aware about the usage of this product. But again, that this is not related to the water permeability test. The one that I add is something that related to the macro tahrim. There is an exception. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So during the halal audit, the industry shall submit the packaging design or the real packaging to prove this precaution or not, Dr. Mulyorini?
Yeah, part of the review, yeah, of course, we have to know exactly how is the design and the packaging, what is the information that put in the packaging label, how people can access easily for that information. Yeah,
Thank you, Dr.
so
Mulyorini. Thank you, it's clear. So now the next one is for Ms. Hamida. What do you think the relevancy of halal claim with the latest trend of clean beauty concept?
Well, let me think about it. I probably I'm not very familiar with the linking
Yes.
of halal claim and the clean beauty concept. However, when you look at halal, and again, the communication of halal is like what the other distinguished speakers had mentioned. We are talking about products that are safe, that are of quality, that contains ingredients that are considered to be safe as well as toyib. Halal and toyib are another concept that we have to be mindful of when we talk about halal. So basically, when we look at this halal certification process, going through a thorough assessment by competent authorities to look at the ingredients, to look at the acceptability of the ingredients, not only from the halal standpoint, but also when we're looking at the safety standpoint as well. So therefore, I believe that there is a linkage on the halal to safe and clean cosmetics, as mentioned by you. But at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, are we actually communicating in that area, in that space when we talk about halal certified products? For the most part, when we look at from industry perspective right now, we are talking about halal products from the standpoint more on religion or religious, as per meeting religious requirements, that is wudu friendly, that is safe for use by Muslim. But are we truly linking halal to safe and clean cosmetics? I don't believe there's very much linkage being made by the cosmetic producer or the cosmetic marketers in this area. So that's another area that I think there is a need for cosmetic industry, the halal industry, even the cosmetic industry in general, to explore. As I mentioned earlier, halal should be universal. So the communication should be more universal than right now that we are having in the market. Thank you,
Thank,
Budevi.
thank you, Ms. Hamida. And then now the next question for Dr. Mian. With regards to GMO from dog gen, is it allowed, Dr. Rian? Please,
Where?
thank you.
GMO from where?
Dog gen,
Dog.
dog gen.
Dog is not a halal animal, and therefore you cannot use anything from dog from non-halal animals. As I mentioned that as long as the source is halal, you can use for that halal materials, but if that source is not halal, like dog, like pigs, pork, no, they are not halal. Any materials
Okay.
come from non-halal animals cannot be used in the halal GMO production.
Thank you. This question actually from Miss Hanny, and it's pretty clear in your presentation. Actually, it's not allowed. Thank you, Dr. Riaz. Okay. Okay, now we still have plenty of questions, especially for Dr. Mulyorini. The next question is about from Miss Rahma Rahayu, PT Harmony Dynamic Indonesia. I want to ask about if cosmetic ingredient manufactured in foreign or import product does not have halal certificate, finished product or each ingredient, what supporting data of ingredients need to be prepared when we will submit the halal registration in Indonesia? Please, Dr. Mulyorini.
Okay, so if this is ingredient, not the finished product, and will be used for other company, so it depends on the material. Yeah, we divide it. Let's say if the cosmetic ingredient including in the positive list, actually we don't need any documents. Yeah. um, yeah, positive list is material that have a clear halal status. Yeah, for example, some plant origin material and there is no involving or only physically processed, something like that. Yeah, that not involve the critical material or material coming from mining. Yeah, so we don't need any supporting document. So this if the ingredient, the material will be used as the ingredient. The secondly is the material that is compulsory to have halal status. We if your cosmetic ingredient involving animal derived material, the animal what we mean here is the animal that must be slaughtered. Yeah, uh, or those material are complex or involving many ingredients like fragrance for cosmetics, so it is compulsory to have halal certificate. Yeah. Or for example, your material is the hydrolysate of uh, collagen. Yeah. So, and the hydrolysing agent is animal enzyme. So it is compulsory to have halal certificate as the supporting document. And the rest of material means if outside of positive list and outside of those three categories material, so you may provide like a flowchart that inform all of material use, not only the raw material but also processing aids and also the additives. Yeah. So or other form of supporting document like the questionnaire, yeah, that filled in by the producer and all of the information regarding material involved and that ingredients already clear, yeah, regarding the source. Yeah. And so those are the supporting document that need for ingredient that will be used for the product in Indonesia, yeah, the company in Indonesia that produce a cosmetic. Yeah. But if this is the end product, yeah, and your end product of cosmetic means that you will uh, 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 do marketing for that kind of product. You just imported the product, so we require the company that produce the product, yeah, that will be marketed in Indonesia to register in our halal certification process. Yeah. We have online registration. We call it Zero SS 23,000. So company can do registration through online system and submit all the necessary documents in our Zero registration system. So that is the process. Yeah. And of course, basically during registration, all of the product that will be certified have must to be listed. company must set up and implement halal assurance system, yeah, and all supporting document for material, yeah, all material must be also listed and settled. All the critical material must be completed with sufficient supporting documents, yeah, and 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 if all the requirement for registration already complete, then we'll go through pre-audit, audit, and post-audit. And if it is already fulfill all the requirement, we will pass to the fatwa committee, and fatwa committee will decide the halal status. So that basically the whole process of the halal certification for the product, not only overseas but also in not only in Indonesia but also overseas. Thank you, Bu Dewi.
Thank you, Dr. Mulyarini, for very clear explanations. And then the next question for Ms. Hamida. Is there any plan to have multilateral reciprocal agreement between halal certification bodies? It's quite strange. This question is directed to you. Probably, I think, probably if you ever heard any information about the multilateral reciprocal agreement in some countries, because you have a global experience in this area. Please, Ms. Hamida.
Well, thank you so much, Budevi. Well, at the moment, I've not heard of that multilateral arrangement or agreement. However, it is interesting for the participant to note that there is a halal certification bodies conference ongoing right now that is actually organized by the Halal Certification Authority of Malaysia, JAKIM. Usually, these conferences are actually in the non-COVID-19 situation. It is an annual event where halal certification bodies from all over the world convene in Malaysia to discuss about the future of the halal certification, what can be done in terms of alignment of quite a number of things. I think probably that question is rightfully should be asked at the conference of the halal certification bodies. As an industry player and also representing my fellow industry players, obviously we hope there is an opportunity in a very near future for multilateral reciprocal arrangement between authorities. We can start with regional, perhaps, within ASEAN region, can we have a multilateral alignment? Within ASEAN region, can we have a common harmonized halal certification standards, at least like what we have at the moment for the ASEAN Cosmetic Directive? We understand that there are probably still some challenges with regards to local laws that have to be perhaps amended to ensure the possibility of mutual recognition. But we truly hope that in the very near future, this can be materialized and realized. So, thank you, Budevi.
Thank you, Ms. Hamida, for your insight. And then the next question for Dr. Riaz. The question is from Anonymous. Is pre-process or rework authorized in halal product? Please, Dr. Riaz.
As long as the rework, the reprocess is from halal and it's not being contaminated with many non-halal ingredients, you can use the rework. But if that halal rework has been contaminated with any non-halal ingredients, it must go to non-halal. Therefore, it's like food allergens in the food system, where if you got contamination with any allergens, it has to be condemned. Similarly, if your rework got contaminated with non-halal, it has to go to non-halal. It cannot be used in halal. Only it can be used, let's say if you need more mixing or grinding was not properly done, you can do the grinding. If your pH was not set accordingly, you can do the pH settlement, but you cannot mix with any non-halal ingredient. The answer to the question is yes, as long as it is not contaminated and it is from 100% halal, and you can use it as a rework.
Okay, it's very clear. Thank you, Dr. Riaz. Okay, now I'm going to the next question again for Dr. Mulyorini. This is from Miss Lina. We happen to be a cosmetic importer company. Then for halal, is it the responsibility of the product manufacturer industry, or is it also our responsibility to distribute the product? If we are responsible for halal, then what part should we do to get halal certification, and what is the process? Thank you. Please, Dr. Mulyorini.
Okay. Thank you, Ibu Lina. So based on the law, yeah, of halal product assurance, so any product that distributed in Indonesia must be halal, yeah, not only for food but also for cosmetics. Means, yeah, based on that, yeah, the any stakeholder that involved in that area, yeah, must aware that the product, let's say, uh, your company is on the distribution process of a certain product to be marketed in Indonesia. So this has also become your awareness, because you that directly involved on the sales or marketing of the product in Indonesia. But based on the policy, yeah, the policy from MUI, once there is a distributor, yeah, that having the product that will be marketed to Indonesia, uh, they can be applied, yeah, to obtain halal certification or to register to obtain our halal certificate if they are one group with the company that produce the product. Yeah. So if you are one group with the origin producer, so you can apply. But how if you are not in the one group, just only distribute the product? So please ask the producer to register. And how to register? So we have the registration system through online, yeah, namely Civil S 22,000, that can be accessed for every party that need to be that want to be halal certified by us. Yeah, go to the our website and then following the procedure. Yeah, again that the producer must set up and implement halal assurance system first, because this is a prerequisite, and secondly, listed all product that will be certified, listed all material including the supporting document, and uh, uh, uploading all the necessary document, and the registration will go to the next step like pre-audit, audit, post-audit process, fatwa committee, and issuance of halal certificate. So that's basically the process. Thank you, Bu
Thank you.
Dewi.
Thank you, Dr. Mulyorini. Now the next question again for Ms. Hamida. When company use non-halal material in the process and it is difficult to find alternative material, what is the solution based on your experience? This question is from Mr. Duyan. Please, Ms. Hamida.
Thank you very much, Videvi. When we look at non-halal materials, we'll have to understand whether or not it's non-halal, because it is actually can be halal if it's going to halal certification process, or if it is truly non-halal and will never be halal at any level or at any circumstances. For example, we are looking at materials mentioned by the distinguished speakers before me or after me. Ingredients from lard, from pork origin, from dog, and if we are looking at ingredients from human, for example, definitely you have to find an alternative of halal source. for those ingredients or materials that you use, be it processing aids, be it the actual materials that you use in the formula. There is no other alternative but to find a halal or suitable alternative. However, if it is only because your ingredients are not yet halal certified, then what you need to do is to work with your suppliers, to raw material suppliers, for them to get a halal certification of your raw material. Now, then again, as I explained during my speech, that if, for example, your raw material suppliers are not able to find a solution simply because the plant that they are using or the processes that you're using are also exposed to non-halal materials, making halal certification of the raw materials that you use is impossible, then the next alternative is still for you to find material that is halal compliant. So that's why I say that this is one of the challenges that you have to overcome as an industry. If you are committed for halal certification and to actually offer or put to the market halal compliant products, you have to make all efforts to find alternatives for the halal compliant ingredients. The next step, perhaps, for your R&D people to find a solution. What can you do to reformulate your formula to ensure that all ingredients that you use in your finished products and in your processes are all halal compliant? So really, the alternatives is search for halal compliant ingredients if the one that you use are not halal compliant. Thank you, Budewi.
Thank you, Ms. Amila. So basically, we need to define first what is the issue on the non-halal ingredient, then we need to seek the rest of alternative of raw materials. Thank you. The next is for Dr. Riaz. This is again from Anonymous. Is a toll manufacturer qualified to apply for halal certification on the facility due to the requirement of one client, even if it has other clients with non-halal cosmetic products? Please, Dr. Riaz.
Okay. Yes, I think myself and other speakers mentioned very clearly that we prefer a dedicated facility, port-free facility. Therefore, if somebody there already manufacturing some non-halal cosmetics and they're using a pork-based ingredient, there are a lot of chances of cross-contamination. Therefore, it is not advisable to use the same facility where they're processing it non-halal pork-based ingredient. But if they can find a facility where they are using it no animal-based ingredient, but they are not halal certified, that may be suitable. Therefore, in the US, we do have a towel manufacturers who are producing a halal product, which they are also making a non-halal. But for the non-halal, you have to go through extraordinary steps to prove to the halal certified body that there is no chance of cross-contamination. For example, even they say we store the ingredients separately the same way in the warehouse, we process in the same warehouse, but let's think about it, how they are receiving it. If they are receiving it on the same door, if they are receiving it on the same place where every single ingredients are received, if they receive something from port, there is a chance of cross-contamination. Therefore, unless they designate 100% separated facility for receiving, for storage, and then of course use it with all the swab testings, all that, there is possibility that you may get halal certification. But my advice will be, if they are making a pork-based ingredient, don't use that. But if they are making a non-halal, it's not pork-based, but they are just not certified, then there is an opportunity for them to get halal certified.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Riaz. It's pretty clear. Okay, and then the next questions again for me, Dr. Mulyorini. This is a question from Miss Aisha Maharani from Halal Corner. I would like to ask about cosmetics ingredient from Dead Sea, which is some part of Dead Sea is not allowed by Islamic law to be taken or used by Muslim because it's not permitted because been azab by Allah. If the producer use it and it halal certified, how your institution to make sure it can be used? Please, Dr. Muryorini.
Okay, okay, thank you. So basically, all the things related to the halal decision will come from fatwa committee meeting. Yeah. So in this case, uh, of course, we have to deliver this case to the fatwa committee meeting first. Yeah. How we can get this information usually from the supporting documents. Yeah. So uh, all material that will be used during on the halal certification process, except the positive list, yeah, must be completed with supporting documents. Yeah. So from that, if there is case, yeah, that as said by Ibu Aisyah, so we will come to the fatwa committee and asking the decision. Yeah. Because currently, yeah, until now, we haven't have any uh, case like this. So we haven't have any clue to answer the question. But any doubtful information that we don't really sure about the answer because there is no fatwa uh, for that case. So we will convey to the fatwa committee to decide the case. Thank you,
Thank you.
Ibu Devi. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mulyorini. It's pretty clear. So every issue beyond the scientific issue of the product or the ingredient, then it will goes to the discussion at Fatwa committee team. Yeah. Okay, next we will go to the next question for Miss Hamida. This is from Anonymous. Related to the challenge with the lack of harmonized standards and certification procedures, some of the companies in Indonesia do not accept halal certificates from suppliers outside Indonesia. What are Indonesia's requirements in order to accept this halal certificate from halal certifying bodies based on other countries? So do you have any experience, Ms. Samida, on this? Please.
Okay. Thank you, Budevi. Well, I'll try to answer this to the best of my knowledge, Budevi, because I
Okay.
think the question probably should rightfully be addressed to Dr. Mulyorini, because this is really the halal standards and requirements and process of the Indonesia halal certification. Now, from my understanding, and of course I call Ibu Mulyorini to correct me if I'm wrong. First and foremost, if you are looking at the Indonesia manufacturing and you are getting raw materials halal certification from other countries, first and foremost, my understanding is that that country, the halal certification body, will have to have a mutual bilateral agreement with the Indonesian halal authority. So at the moment, I know that MUI recognition of foreign halal certification body is still applicable despite the setting up of the BPJPH or the Badan Pensijilan Halal, yeah, for Indonesia. So basically, if we are looking at your raw material supplier being in Malaysia, for example, then if it is certified by the Malaysian halal authorities, and both Malaysia and Indonesia authorities have already had a bilateral agreement, and that bilateral agreement is still valid, is not yet expired, then the Indonesian halal body will accept the halal certification issued by the Malaysian halal authority on the ingredients. The same will go with Thailand as well. because there's also bilateral agreement between Thai and uh, Indonesia Halal Authority. However, if we are talking about Malaysian Halal Authority certifying raw materials in Thailand, my understanding at the moment and based on my experience may not be acceptable from the standpoint of the Indonesian authority, because the bilateral agreements mean that only certification done in the country of origin for the halal certification body. So again, I would call upon Ibu Mulyorini to answer this question if what I have shared may not be actually consistent with the practice at the moment. Because I can say that even for, say, for example, Malaysia authority, the recognition may be only for the country where they have the bilateral agreement. So if they have a bilateral agreement with Japan, then perhaps even the MUI halal certification of a raw material supplier in Japan may not be acceptable also by the Malaysian halal authority. So that's my understanding too. I hope I answered the question, but again, I would call upon Ibu or Dr. Mulyorini to further clarify what is the current situation in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Samira. Dr. Mulyorini, do you have any additional comments or input in these questions, please?
Okay. Yes, Ibu Hamida. So your answer is correct here, and basically we have the policy, for the approval of halal certified body, that which is authority of MUI, and we have consideration regarding the origin of the producer. Yeah. And usually, if we face something like this, so means that we will accept the halal certificate, yeah, from recognized halal certifier body which fulfill the requirement. Yeah. Still valid, produced in the country where the halal certifier body is located, except for Europe countries. We publish this policy. Yeah. And how we face if there is a case like this? So usually we will see what kind actually the material can be answered by, is the material can be answered by other supporting document, not only the halal certificate. Yeah. So if it can be answered, let's say by the flowchart that mentioning all raw materials, additive and processing aids, and all of critical material also inform to us, yeah, and produce in, let's say, a POC-free facility, yeah, uh, for a certain material. So those material basically can be used, although the halal certificate are not valid according to our policy. Yeah, can be replaced by other supporting documents. Yeah, uh, that sufficient for that kind of material. Yeah, of course, if involving material from animal that must be slaughtered, yeah, there is no option, yeah, except the halal certificate from recognized halal certifier body. Yeah. So that's the point, and we also, I think, have the give the solution. Yeah, for example, for flavors of not flavor, fragrance from China, we don't have any halal certifier body that recognized by us. Then we give the solution that the flavor industry register, and then and parallelly with the certification of the cosmetic product, we also certify the fragrance. Yeah. If it is
Okay.
compulsory to have halal certificate, so we always give the solution for this kind of case to the company. Yeah. So that's all,
Thank,
Bu Dewi.
thank you, Dr. Mulyorini, for your additional information. And then the next, we have anonymous questions. Sorry, anonymous attendee. The question for Dr. Riaz. any recommended technique or test or evaluate if one product is halal? Dr. Riaz, please.
Product is halal. Any test?
Recommendation on the technique or test or evaluation if product is halal.
Is halal.
Yeah.
Well, there's no way you can find out the animal was slaughtered halal or not. There's no test for that. If you're using a fat from the animal which is not slaughtered, there's no way you can find out. The only way to find out if that product is halal to trace back from all the halal certificate from how the animals was raised, slaughtered, processed, and how you obtain the ingredients. But each stage you need to have a halal certificate. But each process you have to have halal certificate. There is no way if you have here animal fat, it is halal. I cannot tell you if that's from halal slaughter animal or it is from dead animal. If there is a gelatin here, there's no way I can test you that if a properly slaughtered halal gelatin from the properly slaughtered bones that from the animals were slaughtered properly, these are from dead cattle. I may identify different bones, but there's no way I can find the same bones. Therefore, there is no such thing as a test that you can find the halalness of the product. It is only with the traceability. You go back and see where these ingredients came from and how it was processed and what was the source, especially from the animal-based ingredients. There's no way you can find out that how animal was slaughtered or how it was processed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Riaz. Now we are going to the last round of the Q&A sessions, and the question is for Dr. Mulyorini. If we have done internal testing showing the product is water permeable, whether MUI still reconfirm the result to the authorized lab? Please, Dr. Mulyorini.
Yes, we still have to take the sample and we reconfirm to the authorized lab. Yeah. So this is our system, yeah, that for analyzing the product, we have the lab, yeah, that accredited through ISO 17025, yeah, in the scope of halal analysis, yeah. So although the product already passed through from other laboratory analysis, we have to still to take the sample and reconfirm the test result. Yeah.
And
Okay.
the lab is actually the internal LPPOM MUI lab, which already accredited. Is it correct, Dr. Mulyorini?
Yes, yeah, yeah. So we have the Halal Lab, yeah, that, and we already accredited through ISO 17025, yeah, in the scope of halal testing. Yeah. So the scope is also quite specific for us. Several types of halal testing, including the water permeability test. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Mulyorini is very clear. There are also some questions about the information on the Fatwa MUI informations from some of attendees, and I can inform you that you can access this fatwa in the website of www.halalmui.org. So we have come to the end of Q&A sessions. I understand there are still more questions that participants want to consult with all speakers today. However, it is about time for us to wrap up, but please don't worry. Some of the unanswered questions has been followed up in the Q&A box during the webinar. Now, allow me to wrap up and sharing some highlighted points of the webinar. The halal cosmetic products are becoming more mainstream because it's simply to meet the needs and preferences of fast-growing Muslim consumers. Halal cosmetics refer to beauty products that have been manufactured and composed of ingredients that are permissible under Islamic Sharia that are basically applied upon the entire supply chains, which range from sourcing of the ingredients that doesn't contain any traces of non-halal materials, to manufacturing and transportation or distribution that is protected from possibility of cross-contamination by non-halal material. There are still a lot of gaps on the fulfillment of halal cosmetic and challenges on the halal certification. However, the gap and challenges have been create new opportunities. In order to cope the gap, this will need synergy from all stakeholders, and it is important to leverage the understanding and knowledge on how to develop or build the halal assurance system through training and education. The halal cosmetics segment could be the next phenomenon of Muslim beauty or M beauty, or halal beauty or H beauty, following the popularity of Korean beauty or K beauty to drive the beauty concept and trend in the future. Many thanks again to all presenters for your very insightful presentation, also wonderful Q&A sessions. Thanks to all participants for joining this webinar. Please don't forget to fill in the feedback form of this webinar, which can you see the link in the Q&A menu or Q&A box. After you submit the form, then you will get information on the link for retrieving the webinar materials. More webinars will actually come up in the next few months, so please stay tuned for our promotion update. If you want to see the recorded version of this webinar, you may access to our website www.ihatech.com. And in case you still have some inquiries, you may contact to this email info@ihatech.com. Some virtual training halal supervisor and halal assurance system implementation for general industry and also specific training for the cosmetic industry are available. You can see the flyers now. And please don't forget to look the training agenda available for this year in ihatech website. So see you in the next webinar. Stay safe and healthy. Wassalamualaikum. Have a good day.